Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Cervello Live. Hope you're doing well and hope your Thursday is going amazingly. The sun's shining. It's meant to be quite a hot day today, so if you're socially isolated, which I know that most of us are, maybe a trip to the garden might be good. Today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, somebody I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for, and he's going to be sharing his insight into what you should do when it comes to getting your will done and talking a little bit about power of attorneys. It's Rob. How are you today, Rob?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm just looking out the office window at the sunshine, wishing I was out there, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you fish, don't you? So it must be quite frustrating at the minute because you're not getting the opportunity to get out and do a bit of fishing.
It's incredibly frustrating. Yeah, I'm actively trying to avoid doing anything to do with fishing because I'm going to want to start going again. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of the things I like doing in my free time, and I've got more free time than I've ever had. But I
But
can't
you can't
actually
get
go out.
out. Yeah, no, I'd imagine it's quite annoying. What are the fishing forums like? I bet there's going to be everybody out once this lockdown's over, and the lakes of the UK are going to be full of fishermen again, right?
I think they are. I think provided the tackle shops can stay in existence, and obviously it's going to be a challenge for them financially.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I think that most of the public that haven't been fishing before are just going to want to get out in the fresh air. So,
yeah,
yeah, I can imagine it being very busy.
yeah. So, so the what we're going to do today is talk about a bunch of stuff. I'm going to be talking about how to invest well and sharing some insights from my years of experience of working with clients and investing for clients. And we're getting a lot of queries at the minute talking about whether the current economic climate is the right time and place to invest, as well as what you need to do strategically to make sure you invest well. And I'm going to be sharing some insights on that. Rob's going to be talking about wills and powers of attorney and why it's so fundamentally important to make sure that you've got those provisions in place, not only for you but for your family and for the people you love. And certainly, I know that in terms of the way that we both work, Rob, we share a lot of values, and one of those is like family is the most important thing, right?
It absolutely is, yeah. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but on my WhatsApp tagline, I've actually got "Without my family, I'm nothing," and that applies to virtually everybody I meet, and it follows through in the values that I put in the business when I started it and try to maintain now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how you do that. However, we are on hand to answer any questions. So if you've got any questions on wills, powers of attorney, current financial situation, what you should be doing, or the longer term financial planning element. So how do I make sure that I thrive and not just survive over the longer term? We're around to answer any questions. Feel free to give us a shout on the Facebook Live page. Email us at hello@cervellofp.co.uk because we are around to answer your questions. And before we go on, what I want to do is share a bit of an insight that I got the opportunity to present to a couple of business groups over the last couple of years about how to invest well. Now, really interesting, Rob. I think I'm quite tech savvy, but we've been doing the Cervello podcast on a Thursday and the podcast I do with my daughter, the Kindness Project, 3 times a week. And we haven't got the technology perfect right just yet. So I'm trying something new, but this might all go wrong. I'm trying to put a presentation up on the screen and we'll see how it goes. Let's give it a go. what financial independence means to you. A lot of people save and invest without getting a strategic plan in place first. So one of the questions we always ask our clients is, what's your number? You know, what level of wealth do you need to achieve financial independence, and what does your life look like when you've got enough money? Financial freedom is the aim of the game. Actually, for most people we work with who are pretty wealthy, they're not massively flagrant. You know, Rob, we have this conversation quite a lot. Sometimes that people assume that wealth looks a certain way when in reality it doesn't, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I've got the same, which obviously you know very well, which is most of us actually do know the people that are millionaires. We just don't realise that they're millionaires because they don't look like it.
Yeah, true. But whatever financial freedom looks like for you, give some thought about how that looks. And effectively, it's about working out what your number is. You know, that number you need to achieve in level of wealth to achieve your financial independence. And working this out can be complicated because you've got all these elements that contribute towards that number. If you're a business owner, which a lot of our clients are, it'll include the business sale. It might include investment property. It might include pensions, cash, investments. And we use tools called cash flow to help people work out what that number is. But there is a way to guesstimate that number in terms of what you need to achieve. And can I just say, it's not 100% accurate, but it might give you a starting point to help you work out what you need to get to. And there's a really good book called The Number by Lee Eisenberg that I'd recommend that you pick up if you're thinking about doing that. But the rule is just called the 4% rule. You take the income you need to live on today, assuming that's the income you want when you retire. You divide it by 4 and you multiply it by 100. Now, effectively, that will give you a very round figure. Working with a financial planner will help you actually clarify what the specifics are going to be on that, but that would give you a starting point. And if you're not there yet, you've probably got some work to do. So I'm going to talk about where to invest, because we get asked quite a lot where to invest, and actually the best performing assets in one particular year aren't always the same. They change all the time. So what we recommend people do is spread widely and wisely. So make sure that you're investing, but actually you're spreading your assets as broadly as possible, and as sensibly as possible. Now, when I talk about wisely, what I talk about is not always investing in assets that are the most volatile, despite giving you the best growth. Because the reality is we need to be emotionally comfortable with where we invest. And if we're invested in assets that are going to go up and down too much, the roller coaster ride, which we'll talk about in a minute, of investing won't be a successful journey. So what financial planners do is have a conversation about risk, how you feel about risk, and invest your money wisely to accommodate that level of risk. Number 3, focus on what you can control. So there's no way you can control the markets. The markets are going to do what they do. But what you can control is how much contribute, what level of risk you take, whether you increase the amount you can contribute, and what the end goal is. And if you keep your eye on what you can control, you're going to have a more successful investment journey than not. And the other thing you can control is you can spread your money widely. You can manage costs. A lot of people look at the investment performance of the asset they've bought, but don't look at how much it's costing them every year, and invest globally. So invest as widely as possible. And the other thing is, money is emotional. You know, money isn't in and of itself. It comes with all these connotations, and certainly over the last few weeks, we've been having a lot of conversations with clients where the recent volatility in the market, the recent ups and downs of the market, have made those conversations a bit more emotional than they were before. But that's part of investing. And what we did is produce a little video called The Emoji Guide to Investing, which explains how that works. And I'm going to play that now. if it goes through the speakers. And if it doesn't, I'm going to talk it through live. So this emoji guide to investing is about understanding that investing is a journey. And when things are going up, you're happy, you're elated, you feel comfortable. When they're going down, you're in a position where you might be angry, sick, and feel annoyed about it. But most investors go through that journey. What happens with the most successful ones is instead of worrying about the ups and downs, they know that the longer term trajectory is usually up, as long as they're comfortable with those ups and downs, and they keep calm and carry on through that investment journey. Now that's not always easy to do, but certainly the best investors typically tend to do that. And number 5 is don't leave it too late to plan. Very often we see clients come and see us a couple of years before they intend to make some changes in their life. What I'd like is for people to come and see us 5 years before or more before they intend to make a change. Now, I don't know about you, Rob, but I think retirement, that old school sort of I'm going to just give up work and lay in the garden or lay on the beach or fish is a bit of a flawed concept now, because I don't know that many people who want to do that full time, right?
Yeah, no, it used to be like everybody's aim to stop working at 60, 65, whatever it is, or whatever it was. I actually know quite a lot of people in my age bracket, and I won't tell you what that is, that are actually working as hard now as they were 20 years ago with absolutely no intention of retiring.
Yeah.
Because they love doing what they're doing.
Exactly, and that's the factor. The factor is, you know, we're in a position where this isn't about old school retirement with a gold watch and just stopping and doing nothing. This is about reaching financial independence so that you've got the choice. And if you want to carry on working because you get satisfaction out of it, that's sometimes as important as everything. But I've just a quick story to finish up on. I had a client called Bernadette. Now I've changed the name because of confidentiality, but Bernadette came to me a couple of years before she intended to change what she was doing. She worked for the NHS. And she wanted to slow down a bit, leave the NHS, and actually her aspiration was to be spending more time with family. So she had grandkids and she wanted to be spending more time with the family, and she wanted a change on that. And she wanted to know whether she could afford to do it. The challenge we had is when I did everything, all the work we did, she was more than the 2 years away from doing it. But if she would have spoken to me 5 or 6 years ago, we could have put provisions in place to make sure that she was ready. And it was an interesting one because I wasn't looking forward to the meeting, Rob. I mean, I'm a bit of an optimist, as you know, and it's not always the easiest conversation when you've got to tell people the reality of their situation if it's not that great. But that's the job. So Bernadette came in. I said, look, there's no way we can achieve this level of independence in 2 years, but I think here's the plan. If we do it in 5 years, we're going to be in a situation where we'll be able to achieve it. And weirdly, she was relieved because she then had a clear plan in place to achieve it that she didn't have before. And it took a while for her to accept it, but she was actually more confident now that we'd run the numbers and got there. But as we always say, sometimes you've got to have those tough conversations, right?
It is, yeah. It's like where anything is managing the client's expectation. And I've got something that I've always used, and it applies to financial advice, it applies to wills, it applies to everything. And that is that I would sooner upset someone in the short term by telling them the truth than telling them what they want to hear. They find out later on that it was wrong, and you've lost all credibility, and any future business, any future respect is gone.
Yeah.
So it's really, that comes back down to being sort of focused around the client, focused around what you do rather than anything else.
Yeah. It also comes back to the sort of business you want to run, right? I mean, for us, running a long-term, good quality business means just giving people the truth, you know, making sure that you're really clear. And then so actually she's now on track to achieve those goals, and that's important to us. So how can we help? How can Cervello help you in your financial future? If you did want to come and speak to us, We help by making sure the future you is financially independent. We help by investing widely and wisely so you don't need to worry about it. And we help by making sure you make the right decisions to achieve your financial goals. And that when things like the coronavirus happen or the market crash happen, we keep you on track. That's our job. Hopefully that was useful. Happy to answer any questions on that particular subject. Just give us a shout if you think that you need to have some support about sort of putting your financial plan in place for the future. Talking of planning, I want to talk to Rob now about how he helps his clients plan, because certainly having a financial plan is one part of it, but also making sure that you've got provisions in place in the event of the worst occurring, in the event of your death or incapacity, is as important. So that's why I've invited Rob on to tell us a little bit about both wills and power of attorney that are certainly for our clients an important part of making sure they're on track. Before we start talking about all that happy stuff, Rob, tell us a bit about you.
Okay, so as we've already covered, the most important thing about me is my family. I've been married for a number of years. It's actually my wedding anniversary on Monday.
Oh, congratulations!
I
Well
don't
done.
actually know how many years it is. I'll have to ask my wife when she gets in from work. I've got 2 grown-up children, 1 grandson, who obviously I haven't seen face-to-face since all this started, so that's getting to a bit of an emotional tie.
Yeah.
But basically, I've been dealing with the public in one shape or form since the early 1980s.
Okay.
So it's something I've done for a long time.
Yeah. And how? What do you enjoy the most about what you do?
I actually enjoy seeing the change in people's faces on the 2nd or 3rd visit. And the amount of times I get actually thanked for taking all the mystery out of wills, powers of attorney, whatever it might be, because there's an awful lot of scaremongering around it. There's an awful lot of misinformation or no information in some cases. So to actually sit down and speak to someone and give them some decent advice and then to be thanked for it, that's the most important part of my job. Irrespective of whether they actually go ahead and do anything or not, it's the giving of the advice that's important for me.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. I think you're in a position where that, like, when you've got somebody on track, regardless of what you do, you know, there's a satisfaction that means more than the money sometimes, because it's important to make sure that they're on track. It's funny, we had a bit of a weird experience a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know about you, but I'm spending half my life on Zoom at the minute. Zoom is my new best friend. So we did a
You've forgotten what it's like to speak to someone face to face.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can still speak to Cass and the kids, so it's not that bad. But funny enough, I was on a Zoom call and the door went, and it was a lady that we'd helped to just get everything organised. So effectively, she was in a position where she'd built wealth, but it was in a disorganised place, and part of our job in that process was just to get her sorted out, get her on track, but also take all this stuff and make sure that it was sorted out. And it had taken a few months to get all this stuff sorted out and all the information back and everything we needed to do in that process. And it was done, I think, week 2 or week 3 of when we were in lockdown. And the funny thing was, she had to deliver some paperwork to us at our house because the office is now closed. But she did that, delivered the paperwork, delivered a bottle of wine and a couple of boxes of chocolates, and literally shouted from her car, "Thanks for all your help!" And that was it. But it's weird how lockdown's changed that, because normally I'd give her a hug when she came in the office and just say thank you personally, but now you've got to shout it from your car.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. We live in a strange world at the moment. Like,
Yeah.
We live in a strange world.
Tell us a little bit about the business.
So the business really started a long time ago, probably about 20 odd years ago, when at the time, funny enough, I was working as an IFA, which you know because I've told you the story.
Yeah.
And I basically started it on the principle that at the time, and pretty much now as well, there was very, very, very little advice and guidance around wills, powers of attorney in existence, between wills and trusts. There were loads of people that would take your money and do a will for you, but there was not many people that would give advice. So I actually set the business up on the same principle, if people are old enough to remember it, on the same principle as the home service insurance industry, which was very much based around building relationships and seeing people regularly. And it's just really carried on from there. It's gone from strength to strength, which I'm really pleased about. I tend not to need to advertise too much. I get quite a lot of recommendations, which is really, really nice. But the model hasn't changed at all. I've encompassed powers of attorney now because they've come into the arena since sort of the 2005-2006 period. But other than that, the business largely is unchanged.
Cool, good stuff. So tell us a little bit about why it's so important to have a will. And I mean, I know the stats in terms of the amount of people who haven't got wills is quite shocking. Why do you think that is?
Oh, how long you got? I think that the main reason people don't make wills is because of all the mystery around it. They don't know where to start in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, they don't know where to go for advice. Some people are not comfortable going into a solicitor's office and talking to a solicitor for whatever reason. Some people literally, and I mean this with the greatest respect, some people literally think if they make a will today, they're going to die tomorrow. I've had more than one conversation about that. But I'll put the main reason down as being lack of knowledge or understanding about how to go about it. And that's the bit that I try to take the mystery out of.
And what's the importance of having a will? What happens if you don't have a will?
So I've got a stock saying, which can be taken quite flippant, but it's quite literal, which is if you don't have a will, all you leave behind is heartache and confusion. So simply having a will allows you to make sure that your choices are followed. You can include the people you want to include in your will to inherit your estate. If we're living in the 21st century, if you've got members in your family who are close to you, blood relations, children, brothers, sisters, parents sometimes, who you actually don't want to benefit from your will or from your estate, you need a will to explain why. So there's loads of reasons why you should make a will. There's loads of reasons why people put it off, and that's fine. But I think it's to allow, the main reason for making one is to allow for your wishes to be followed and to allow for the people that you want to inherit from your hard-earned money or property or both, making sure they actually do.
You know, it's an interesting one because I had a conversation this week, as you know, with one of my clients about making a will. And bless him, I've recommended I've worked with him now for 8 years, and every time we get together, I say, right, you made that will yet? You made that will yet? You made that will yet? And it will be coming to you at some point in the future, Rob. I just don't know when. And it's an interesting one because I think part of his hesitation is he feels like if he does it, it's fixed in stone. And the reality is people can change their wishes at any time, can't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I've lost Rob. I don't know what's happened. Rob's frozen on the screen, which is a bit interesting. We're going to try and get him back, Charlotte, aren't we?
I'm still frozen.
Oh no, you're on. You're back. I don't know what happened there, mate. I was just trying to cover for as long as possible until your screen sorted itself out. But there was a point I started to get worried and think, is he ever going to come back? So tell us about
What bit did you miss?
all of it. So tell us a bit about if somebody wanted to change their will. Is that a simple process, and how would they do it?
Yeah, it's absolutely a simple process. Most modern wills are written on the principle that minor changes can be made very easily. So changes of executors, changes of beneficiaries, they can usually be done usually by reproducing the will, but there shouldn't actually be a cost for that. I certainly don't charge anybody for doing that. If someone has appointed, let's say I appoint Joe Bloggs as my executor and Joe Bloggs is inconsiderate and passes away before I do, I've obviously got to appoint a new executor. That's very easy to do.
Yeah.
You just contact the people that did your will for you, and they should be able to do it free of charge or at a very low cost.
Yeah.
And that can be done at any time, providing the big criteria is you must have the mental capacity to be able to do it. Nobody can change your will for you.
Okay. Talk to me about the process you follow in terms of getting a will written. How does it work practically?
Well, the mechanics of getting it done.
Yeah.
Well, it's changed a little bit because of the wonderful COVID-19 problem we've got. The principle is still very much the same, which is, and I can only do the way I work because different people work in different ways, and there is my pet hate, which is online wills, which I don't want to talk about. So the way I work is very simple, which is I conduct an initial appointment with the clients. Ideally, in the good old bad old days, that'll be face-to-face in their living room, but under these circumstances, as we just said, Zoom and WhatsApp, my obligation doesn't change. I still have to follow the same rules, which is I have to verify the client's identity, I have to satisfy myself that they have the capacity to make the will, and I have to satisfy myself that there's no one behind the camera sort of inflicting their wishes upon the person making the will. Once that's all done, it's a conversation piece. I've got a set series of questions, but really the appointment is customer-led, and they tell me what they want, and I draft the will and draw it up from scratch. Depending on what the client wants, I'll either then email the draft back to them for their approval, or if it's pretty simple, I'll just get it printed up and take it around to get it signed.
Amazing. So as you said, the process has changed a bit, but there's still that practical part where you need it witnessed and signed, right?
Yeah, that's the bit that they call it the attestation part. So that's the bit that people fall foul of, because that's the bit that doesn't matter how badly or well the will's been written, that's the bit that determines whether it's legal or not. So what all wills have to have, and it has to comply with something called Section 9 of the Wills Act, which goes back to about 1837. So the will has to be signed in a certain order and in a certain way. The person making the will is called a testator, and they need to sign the will first in front of two independent witnesses. So again, in the good old bad old days, it used to be either next door neighbours, family friends, work colleagues would meet up and sign the will and witness the will. Today, I'm classed for this part as a key worker. So a key part of my armoury now is rubber gloves and antiseptic wipes and loads and loads and loads of black pens. Because what I now do is still take the will to the client personally, still post the will through the letterbox while they read it.
Yeah.
I then go to a window, physically watch them sign the will. They then post it back through the letterbox to me, and I witness their signature.
Yeah. Okay. So you've had to get fully kitted out for the COVID-19 situation. Then did you have the rubber gloves in a drawer somewhere, Rob, or was that a new piece of equipment for your armoury?
It's a whole new piece of equipment, mate. I actually went out and bought a box of 100, especially for it, and I keep them in the car.
Fair enough. So tell me a little bit about powers of attorney, because I know that in the event of death, in the event of your death, wills are important, but in the event of losing capacity to make certain decisions, wills don't apply because they only apply on death. That's where power of attorneys kick in. Help me understand how power of attorneys work.
Okay, mate. So basically, as you just said, a will covers what your wishes are when you pass away, and they're written in black and white, and it's very easy for them to be administered. Power of attorney is the the only way that you can influence how your affairs are managed if you lose mental capacity. So there's loads and loads of ways of losing mental capacity. Don't assume that Alzheimer's and dementia are the main ones, because they're actually not. If you're unfortunate enough to lose capacity and you haven't created a lasting power of attorney, your family members are in a little bit of an awkward situation. And it's the misinformation around powers of attorney that for me is the big issue. So keep it really, really simple, because probably 98% of the people watching this or listening to this would have heard of powers of attorney but don't know any more than that. A power of attorney is something that you have to appoint. It can't be applied for. So you are called the donor, and you will appoint people who you trust to look after your affairs if you lose mental capacity. There are two types of powers of attorney. One covers your finances, and one covers your health and welfare and physical well-being. The one for finances is probably the more emotive of the two, because it covers the greater percentage of the population potentially.
Yeah.
A very easy example is if you've got a married couple, they've been married for 30 years plus, everything they've got is joint, they've got joint bank accounts, everything is been really nice and easy. If one of them loses mental capacity, the other one loses access to the joint account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, is particularly the other element of that that's quite interesting is the fact that, like Cassie and I, if you run a business together as well, not only do we lose the elements of money that we've access to the elements of money that are held jointly and still until it gets all sorted out, but also potentially it might impact you running your business, right?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're a relatively small company with, I mean, obviously big multinationals have got plans in place, but if you're an average company, one or two directors, sole traders, yeah, absolutely. If you lose capacity, it stops the other director from accessing the company bank accounts unless you appoint them with your power of attorney beforehand.
Yeah. So what's the process of putting a power of attorney in place? Is it similar to a will?
Not really. It takes a lot longer for a start because it has to be registered. So unlike a will, because I just backtrack a little bit, wills are not registered. A lot of people think they are, they're not. Currently, there's no official registration process for wills. Powers of attorney are. Powers of attorney are registered by a government body called the Office of the Public Guardian, and the Office of the Public Guardian work under the umbrella of the Court of Protection. So the process of looking at a power of attorney is an application has to be made in the first instance to the Office of the Public Guardian. That can be done by yourself online. You can get someone like me to do it, or you can go to a solicitor and get them to do it. The process follows a set format. You complete a questionnaire, which is approximately 34 pages long, which details your wishes, who you want to act as your attorney, whether you want any reserve attorneys, and under what circumstances you want them to act. That then goes off to the Office of the Public Guardian to be registered. It's registered under something called the Mental Capacity Act of 2005, and that process takes normally between 10 and 12 weeks because there's a set process it has to follow. The power of attorney isn't in force until it's been registered.
Okay.
I spoke to the Office of the Public Guardian yesterday, and they've currently extended that to 12 to 14 weeks because of COVID.
Okay. Right. So a couple of questions that spring to mind. And these aren't bare ones, but these are ones when we were doing it. Cassie and I were doing our will that we had to think about. Number one is it's not just about the assets, right? Because one of the hardest decisions we needed to make was who'd look after the kids if we weren't around. And wills can be used to express your wishes about guardianship as well, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say to anyone that's got children under the age of 18, even if you literally, and I mean literally, haven't got any money at all or don't own a property, you would still need to do a will just to make it clear who you would want to look after the children if anything happened to you. There are loads of different conflicting rumours and stories about it. But the actual fact is the only way that you can guarantee that your children will be cared for by someone who you've chosen is if you put it in the will as a separate clause under guardianship arrangements.
And how often should people review their will or power of attorney?
Sorry, how often should they review it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you broke up. So I've got my own views on this, which is not necessarily in line with everybody else. As far as I'm concerned, the only reason you should need to review a will is if there's been a fundamental change in your circumstances.
Yeah.
So a good example would be if you're living together, you're quite happily living together, you've got property together, you've got all the normal trimmings, and you decide to get married.
Yeah.
So that would automatically nullify any existing will. The getting married bit would. So that would be a reason for reviewing your will and redoing it.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you want to change executors, as I've already said before, you would want to do that. If you would want to add beneficiaries, so depending on how in depth you wanted the will, if you wanted to list every grandchild that you had, then that would be a reason for reviewing the will. What you absolutely don't need to do is you don't need to review the will if you move, and you don't need to review the will if any of your beneficiaries or executors move.
Okay.
Because come the fateful day, all anybody has to do is prove who you were, not where you lived, and who they are, not where they live.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of people will go to change a will because of a change of address. They really don't need to. As far as powers of attorney, mate, that's a bit more restrictive because they are registered, they are covered under the Mental Capacity Act. You can make an application to have an attorney removed by something called a partial revocation, and that's a letter to the Office of the Public Guardian, and they'll do that. As far as adding attorneys, you have to go through a whole new application and pay a whole new fee.
Okay, fair enough. And then the other question that I didn't prepare you for, but it's just on top of my head, so I'm going to ask it. How do you know if you choose to work with somebody? How do you know they're any good? Like, if somebody went to see, I don't know, will writing service online, or met somebody who did wills, or what can you check to make sure that you're working with the right person?
Brilliant question. So put it in reverse. If you're dealing with an online company, you actually can't. And what you'll actually get with an online company is a will that's drafted based on a questionnaire that's been sent out, and effectively you're going to take responsibility for that will. You're also going to take responsibility for the signing of that will. If you go to someone like me, then look for membership of the Society of Will Writers or the Institute of Professional Will Writers. The reason why I'm saying that is because while there's no official regulated body, those two organisations insist that we adhere to a strict code of conduct and insist that we carry professional indemnity insurance.
Yeah.
If you go to a solicitor, exactly the same thing. The preconception is that people think solicitors are automatically the best people to do your will. The reality is solicitors are very, very, very specialist, and there aren't that many that specialise in estate planning. So if you go to a solicitor, actually ask them the question, do you specialise in estate planning, and do you carry any particular qualifications around that? And that would be a step qualification or something like that that would indicate they actually chosen to specialise with estate planning. Yeah,
so don't pick a generalist. Pick somebody who's actually specialising in that area. That's a really good point. Tell me where people can find out about you, your business, and if they want to work with you, how they get in touch.
Okay, so as I mentioned, quite a lot of, over 90% of my business comes from recommendations. But if people do want to get in touch, that's fine. I've got a website, which I can't see the bottom of the screen, but I think it may be on there. You'd have to tell me, either Chris or Russell. It's www.familyfirstconsultants.co.uk.
Rob, Russ has let us down on that. Russ, what's going on, mate? It's not on there. But he did ask for your logo and put your logo on. Just give us that website address again.
Yeah, no problem. It's www.familyfirstconsultants.co.uk.
Amazing. Yeah, so people can find out all about you there. But if you get in touch with me, I'll be able to introduce you to Rob as well. Thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us about wills and powers of attorney. I think If you haven't got your will or power of attorney in place, it's a bit of a no-brainer to me. I think one thing I just wanted to highlight, Rob, was the relatively low cost of getting it done. Because actually, I think the other thing that puts people off is, oh, that's going to be really expensive to get organised. Just talk to me a little bit about what people assume it's going to cost and the reality of that.
Okay, yeah, well, based on my research, and obviously I do mystery shop calls on various different providers. The average cost in my area, and I'm in Romford, as you know, Chris, yep. The average cost for a solicitor to do a will in my area is around about £400 plus VAT, which is still a really, really, really small percentage of most people's estate sizes when you break it down.
Yeah.
My fee for doing the same sort of will is about 150 quid.
Okay.
I don't charge VAT. You can, as I say, these are my pet hates, but you can go online. You can use the free will facility with charities, but I question the advice that you get with those. So, you're looking at anything realistically from £125, £150 up to about £400. So, not hugely expensive. People run into the point of view it's going to come into hundreds of pounds, if not thousands of pounds. It shouldn't do. The good thing with all of us now, if you're a member of the Society of Will Writers or if you're a solicitor, you have to give a price. So I always work to a fixed price list, and I give people a copy of that before I even go and see them or before I talk to them, so they know in advance what it's going to cost. If you go into solicitors, outline roughly what you think you're going to need, and they have to give you a price for what they're going to charge.
Yeah, which is the way that it should always work, right? Be aware of what you're paying. Amazing stuff. Thank you for that, and thank you so much for joining us today. That's it for another Cervello Live. Next week, I'm really excited, and to be frank, I need this lady's help. We've got Helen Westwood. Now, Helen is a teacher. She's an award-winning teacher. She's actually she won an award last year for the best financial education teacher of the year, and she's going to be talking to us about homeschooling, what to do where your kids are at home, and talking about how we can teach our kids about money. So I'm really excited to talk to Helen. Thanks again, Rob. Really appreciate that.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for inviting me.
That's my Alexa going off. And on that note, have a lovely Thursday. And we'll see you. We're on the Kindness Project tomorrow. So if you are a fan of that show, we'll see you then.